Hi, hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing better than I am. This is about take 11 of me trying to record these outcome measures, going wrong for numerous reasons. Outside influence, like the United States Air Force, um, my computer pinging when things are arriving when I'm not expecting them to, but we are going to persevere. Betty, earlier on, was really excited at the prospect of me recording, and now she's fast asleep using my cardigan as a pillow. Fred also fast asleep below. Hopefully they'll stay that way for the duration of the recording, unless they just pop up and look cute to distract you for a few seconds. So, outcome measures. Got to say, when we first decided to introduce these into practice, I was not a great fan of the necessity of it. I recognise the necessity, but I just don't like bits of paper getting in the way of contact between me and the client. There's a stereotype, isn't there, of not being listened to by a doctor who's already filling out a prescription before you've even heard what the problem is. So I've always wanted to avoid that and just really get into, right, how am I going to help you and be there for them? But I found actually my fears around these bits of paper being introduced were completely ill-founded, because clients didn't mind at all the fact that they were asked to fill them in. They actually quite enjoy, I think, being measured. Certainly as the sessions go on and they can see themselves getting better, it becomes a real thing that they get a kick out of. And for me, it provides obviously a means of measuring, but also a means of getting in and finding more information, that from one session to the next, whether they get better or worse according to their own measurement, it leads to questions like, so what is it about the last week that's made you think you're getting better? What is it about the last week that's made you feel that you've been the same? So they're a great way of getting into context questions and exception elicitations. So as a means of gaining rapport, I've actually found it to be a useful icebreaker. So I'm a fan of it for that in the first, despite the other benefits that we as therapists gain from it. There's also the benefits that the client gets from it as well. Starting with the fact that research by people like Scott Miller and others has demonstrated that if you involve a client in the feedback about their therapy, they get better faster and more often. And that's a stunning thing. You know, if I suddenly said, I'm going to teach you a technique today that's going to help your clients get better faster and sooner. Faster and sooner? Faster and sooner? No, faster and more often. That would instantly be a hit, wouldn't it? And yet, if you say to people, you'll get that effect just by getting them to fill in these forms, it's kind of not quite as sexy, and people go, oh, yeah, okay. And it just seems a bit of a faff. But this is a technique for improvement. So that alone means that we really should be using it. Also, the second thing is that these measures are the ones that are being used to measure the effectiveness of IAPT therapies within the National Health Service, for example. Doctors are using them to measure the effectiveness of their protocols for anxiety and depression. CBT is being measured using these. So they raise our credibility. They're a great way of influencing the fact that we are not some alternative weird outfit. We are a credible organization measuring our effectiveness against a proven standard. So I think it's a protection for ourselves, and also in the future it's going to raise our profile and the doors that can be opened by it. So if you've only got to really look at this with obviously CNHC being big dogs in town, this is what they think. Evidence-based practice is an essential part of the development of us as a profession. And when you look at what this is, we're in a wonderful position that 3 elements of evidence-based practice is the best available research evidence. We have that now in the research project that's been published, and also the ongoing one that's now in the pipeline. We can show that cognitive hypnotherapy works. Your clinical expertise is demonstrated by the fact that the outcome measures are showing your clients getting better. It's a no-brainer. And it fits patient values as well, because this is so at the heart of cognitive hypnotherapy, isn't it? That we're not fitting somebody into a label and then giving them a fixed protocol. We're saying, right, who are you? How do you do your problem? How is it different to anybody else who's ever had that label? How can I create a treatment plan that will fit your particular need? So it really is patient values based therapy. So we're right in the zeitgeist of modern therapeutic direction. How'd you like them apples? So before I get you too excited, or actually continuing to get you excited, let's look at the simplicity of these forms. To begin with GAD-7, which measures anxiety. When you read the questions, it's patently obvious that that is what is being measured. The fact that you've been feeling anxious or nervous or on edge, not being able to stop or control worrying, trouble relaxing, being so restless, hard to sit still. Everyday questions that are very easy for clients to answer. And all you're asking them to do is to put their mind back over the last 2 weeks and tick the box for not at all, several days, more than half the days, or nearly every day. You then add up the scores. So if it's nearly every day, they get a score of 3. If it's several days, it's only a score of 1 for each tick in that particular box. You add up the score. If it's 8 or above, then they are what is called caseness. They've reached caseness for anxiety, i.e. it's statistically relevant. They're anxious people at that particular moment. This doesn't mean that the alarm bells ring and you need to send them off to the doctor. It can be part of your conversation with them about the fact that anxiety has reached a relevant level, might focus and concentrate their minds, but I also doubt that they're not unaware that that's the case in most examples. Now with the easy way to remember this, GAD-7 is +1, so 8 and above equals caseness. But you can always refer to your supervisor for confirmation of that if you're in any way concerned. So you get them to fill out the GAD-7. There's also the PHQ-9. This is for depression. If you read down the questions, you'll see the questions are very clear in what they're looking to identify. Poor appetite, feeling tired or having little energy, trouble falling or staying asleep. Again, they fill out the not at all, several days, more than half the days, nearly every day. And with PHQ-9, just like with GAD-7, you +1. So if they reach 10, then that is depression that's statistically relevant, something that is likely to be having an impact on their life day to day. One of the questions, number 9, thoughts that you would be better off dead or hurting yourself in some way. Clearly, if that's flagged up, then it requires a conversation. You need to be going into being risk sensible about the potential danger they pose to themselves. Again, not in a way that makes you instantly call in the crisis team. You need to be asking questions. This talk isn't actually about that. It's just about the filling out of the forms. But if ever that shows several days, more than half the days, or nearly all the days, then I think a little chat with your supervisor with the context of that and what they provided you with as background information is important, because most of us at some point in our life have had suicidal thoughts. We've had thoughts that we'd be better off dead, or maybe of hurting ourselves in some way. It doesn't mean we're going within a country mile of actually taking action on that. It's just that our brain is a thought machine, and that's one of the possibilities in our imagination of seeing ahead and seeing that will be a possible solution to how you're currently feeling. So you're going to be taking risk sensible steps to make sure that that's the case, that they are not an actual danger. You're listening for their lack of hope, that you're looking for any steps they've actually taken to tidy up their life, to withdraw from life, to shut down their future, etc., etc. I'm thinking that in the main, experienced therapists are going to be listening to this, so you don't really need me to go into it more than that. So we've done GAD-7, we've done PHQ-9. They fill up those out. If they are caseness, then that's a reason to continue to give them those forms session to session. You don't have to. If they're not caseness, then strictly speaking, anxiety and depression are not a part of the treatment, and so why would you continue to measure them? They're unlikely to get worse. Some questies still continue to use them anyway, because they still measure a level from session to session. I leave that to you. Certainly if it's +1, then you continue to measure it for the duration of your treatment of them until it's finished. Now, the third thing is based on the fact that we are both problem state and solution state oriented. So clearly, PHQ-9 and GAD-7 are measuring the problem state. Now we're looking for something to measure solution state, and that is what we are calling Schwemmwebs, because that's about the closest you can get to saying what is a nonsensical arrangement of letters. And I'm not even going to bother trying to remember exactly what they mean, but I think Edinburgh is in there somewhere for some reason. Anywho, moving on, when you look at these are the happy ones. I've been feeling optimistic about the future, I've been feeling useful, I've been feeling relaxed, all the good stuff. And when they first come to see you, it might be that they're feeling that none of the time or rarely or just some of the time. There is no caseness for this, because obviously you can't be too happy. So you measure this one each and every time. And what we're looking for is for the score to go up and up and up. So the sky is the limit. Well, it isn't, is it? There's 7 questions. There's maximum score of 5 for each one. So there's maximum score, I don't know, what is that, 120? Anyway, we're just using it to measure it going up and up and up. And that's really all there is to it. These are just paper measures. We're not talking yet about you joining the research team, although when you've bedded into these with your research mentors, then certainly that would be a thing that we would welcome. For now, it's just a question of integrating these into your normal way of working, making this a conversational piece, making it a habit, really, for you and for your clients. So after a while, you'll look back and you will hardly remember a time when you didn't use them. Not that I want to influence you in any way, obviously. So I hope that's made sense. And if you've got any questions, then you know that you can contact our wonderful mentors and also our research manager as well. She'll always be around to give you advice and assistance. So hope that was useful, and I'll see you again soon for something else, I'm sure.